Part 2 of the reverse polarity HF950. Have the VU meters survived? Let's crack on. Hello and welcome to another MrBetaByte video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as this is part 2 of the HF950 Sony SL-HF950, if you want to be pedantic, from Rob. And you remember that in part 1 we sorted out a standby issue. We did replace the main power board as well, and replace what turned out to be 3 semiconductor fuses, and got it working. Got it working with the little Sony monitor, which is great. I now have access to my capture box, so we'll do some captures from it hopefully later if all goes well. We also had dry joints on the replacement panel because I replaced the boards. So but yeah, I'll put a link to the previous video. So one thing that's really been nagging at me is the VU meters. Now, looking at the circuit diagram, it looks like these are actually constantly powered. It's a bit odd, and I may have got that wrong, but these go across the constant 12-volt power supply, which means that potentially these might be popped. And if they are, I might have an issue because I don't actually have any spare. But we'll see. I mean, we need to get it back together. We'll put the VU meters in and give it a test. We'll give it a test actually in this arrangement with the variable power supply. So yes, so in this video, basically what I'm going to do is we need to get this powered by its own sort of mains lead, if you like. And how I'm going to do that, and having spoken to Rob by email, I'm going to use one of these. Now this is a 12-volt power supply. It's 5 amp, so it's plenty beefy enough. And these are actually used in medical equipment, so they should be nice and clean. It's a real problem trying to find power supplies that are clean enough, like off-the-shelf power supplies that are clean enough. And because of its size, it's so small, I'll be able to put it into the original cage, so you won't know as such. I mean, you will know, and you'll see why later. But yeah, it should be a really good replacement. These are good for 12-volt out from, I think, about 90 volts AC in, up to about up to like 240 European 220 volts. So I'm hoping this will be a great fix. What's nice about this as well is it doesn't need an earth. It's actually designed to be isolated with the correct installation, and for that reason, these are, you just can't buy these outright. You have to actually specify that you are using them as a business, basically, which is what I've done. I've done it through my own business. Managed to get a few of these. They at the time they're really difficult to get a hold of. I think I bought the remaining stock from America. These actually came from the US. I think through Mouser. So they're XP. So they're XPPower, and which tend to be really good, really efficient, and hopefully, I mean, it is quite small, but it shouldn't get too hot once it's in the cage. Now I didn't film it. I've already drilled the holes ready for it. I need this. I still need to use this because this is adding the isolation for the class 2 non-earthed side of things. I've got plastic standoffs and struggled with screws, so I've actually got PC screws. I would have liked self-tappers, but these seem to work fine. I tested one and yeah, it goes in fine. So yeah, we've got some fun stuff to do, and the first thing I'm going to do is actually reassemble this, get the front back on it, get all this sorted, and then we'll test the VU meters. So let's crack on. Okay, so back together. Let's give it a try. I'm good to go. Go to 12 volts. And let's power it on. Oops. So that's looking good. Tracking left, tracking right. It's really very, very good. Let's press pause. Tickles me, that one. Okay, so now this is hi-fi audio. So we don't seem... Oh, no, we do. VU meters are fine. Fantastic. That's brilliant. I was really worried because, like I say, part of the circuit is actually run from 12 volts power supply. So yeah, that's really good. I'm really pleased with that. So yeah, I suppose we ought to crack on with the actual power supply itself and see if we can get this machine back together and looking like nothing ever happened. Let's crack on. Okay, so like I say, I've already drilled the holes for the power supply. That should line up quite nicely. And I've also put holes in the plastic. I need this because this will make it class 2, or ensure it's class 2. Now the other problem I have, I've got 12 volts out there, mains in there. So what I'm going to do is solder directly to the PCB. I'll take the socket off actually, and put the mains lead directly to that. Just double check it is fused, but I think it is. I'm sure it is, to be fair. So that's cool. And then for the 12 volt out, I'm going to nick this socket from this very smashed F30 board and find some way of making it so I can connect it to the connector on the power supply board. So yeah, that does actually fit quite nicely on there. So yeah, that's my thinking. It's not ideal, it's not great. I'd rather use sort of like a proper line connector, some heat shrink as well. I'm sure it'll be fine. So let's crack on. Let's get this power supply sorted. So here it is, in a bit of plastic that will be inside this. Holes already drilled, all good to go. Didn't show that. So don't know what solder they've used, but it's actually quite right. I was going to remove the socket, but what I've decided to do instead is actually solder the wires on directly to the pins of the sockets, and then put some glue infused heat shrink around them. That should do the job pretty well. I've got a socket, sorry, a plug. This is the plug that, sorry, the socket, oh gosh, that will, the plug for the power supply secondary bit, if you like. So 12 volts in there, and then all the other voltages are derived off this board, plus the switching, of course. So that will plug in there quite nicely, and make sure I get the polarity right. Don't want to go through all that again. And then we've got the main side, and again prepared the lead, and again I will just solder those straight onto those pins, and hopefully put a bit of heat shrink on. It's quite short, but I want to try and keep it fairly short if I can, just for the cosmetic look. But hopefully it will look really good, because obviously I'm using the original cage. It's a bit of a pain to sort of work on in the future. You have to sort of, I suppose, take the 4 screws out, slide it out. I suppose it's not that bad. But yeah, so let's crack on. Here goes. So red, orange, they're the two positive 12 volts, black, brown are the negative. So I'm tempted to do it this way round, and there's no pretty way to do this really. I obviously don't want to short anything out. Okay, well, that's done. It's not the tidiest job, but it is solid. Oh gosh, I think I've contaminated this tip. Either that or the elements on the way out on my iron again. I tend to get this when, let's clean the tip. I tend to get this when the element is just on the way out. It doesn't look particularly healthy, this tip. I forget that I actually used this to melt some plastic, and I haven't cleaned it off since. Well, it's okay. It's a bit blobby. There's a bit of blobby solder there that I can't seem to... Oh, there we go. Okay, so plan now is to get a bit of heat shrink, try and get this on, and this actually has glue in it, so it should be quite tidy. Okay, so it's 3:1 ratio as well, which is not going to be much help as it stands. So I will put some smaller bits on first, so it has something to bind to at the one edge. What I'm basically looking to do is get it so it's a solid connector, even though it'll be floating. I don't know quite how to get around that, but it'll be floating. So I'll just melt that and then maybe put another bit on and another bit until it's built up to be a decent connector. So yeah, I'll do that and we'll take it from there. All done. It's not the prettiest job at all, and I'm just really struggling with the soldering iron. I think I really need to clean that tip. And I managed to catch the socket as well in my efforts, but I've done it. It looks pretty good. It will certainly do the job. I don't like doing lap joints, which is just basically where you put the wire against the post or whatever it is and just solder. But with this heat shrink, because it's got the glue in as well, it's making a good mechanical connection. And same here, really. Not perfect. I had to cut a little bit away here because it was sort of fouling the plug. But yeah, it's all good. So let's just double check. So this side is positive, this side is negative. So negative, positive, and I should be able to go negative, and negative, and then positive. Super, so that's good. And yeah, there we go. So that's all good. So let's get this put in the case. So I need to push these through. Hopefully they'll fit. Yeah, so they're fused at 3.15 amp fast blow, both sides. So that's actually really good. So Same thing again. So all done. Went pretty well, I think. Sorted out my soldering iron. it was literally because I'd melted plastic, and I sort of realised that as I was doing the last segment, but yeah, I needed to clean the tip off, so I've done that, and everything went well after that. I have used these standoffs. They're a little bit of a battle to get in. They're just a fraction too big, but they are in and they're locked, so that's cool. I'd much rather use these so I can actually put screws in, just to give it the proper mechanical strength to keep it in place. I won't be doing it this way again. This is a bit of a trial run, to be fair. Yeah, so we go that way round. That goes in there, then it goes in. This pokes out there, and yeah, job's a good one. What I will do in the future is I will get a piece of plastic that actually slides in and uses the rail. Where are we? All the way round. Uses the rail on each side to guide it in and fabricate something, so there is the socket still in the right place, ready to just push on the that connector. As it stands, this will be a flying lead, but that's fine. It's a good enough job. And the other thing I do need to check, I just want to double check that I have actually got the right power supply, because these actually come in multiple flavors of output voltage. So I just want to check that, because I don't want to stick like 15 or 24 volts or whatever through the HF950 output 12 volts. Well, I don't have to do that now, do I? Okay, so there we go. There's the info for it. Yeah, it's going to put this back together, or I say back together, into the cage. It's not going to be easy, yeah, let's crack on. I don't like this, I have to say, but it's in, it's solid. That ain't going anywhere. It's isolated, it's using the original isolation, and yeah, I do need to find a better way of doing this though, definitely. Now the other problem I have is mounting this back into the the actual metal enclosure that the whole lot sits in. And yeah, I did think about maybe using slightly oversized, at least a slightly oversized screw to self-tap into the aluminium, but it's not really ideal. So my feeling, or my thought is to actually use 3M double-sided tape. When I say tape, it's more like glue. It's incredibly strong, and I mean, it's really strong. Now the downside of that is, and really with the whole way I've done this, it's actually not that repairable. The original Sony design, you could argue, is not overly repairable, but this is really going beyond that. One thing I was wondering was, there is actually a 12-volt adjustment, and on the original Sony one it was here. You can actually get to it through that hole. I don't know if you can quite see it, probably not. You see just the top of the, just about see it, top of the pot. So it would be a bit of a pain to do, and you'd need a very long small flat blade screwdriver to get to it, but you can get to it, so that's cool. But I'd like to think this is fairly well calibrated given what this power supply is designed to do. And of course I haven't even tested this yet, so I'm doing this with the assumption it's going to be fine, and having full trust in the XP power supply unit. But yeah, so I suppose we need to give it a test. Let's crack on. Well, I don't think that looks too bad. Obviously, the big clue is what's going on down here, although you wouldn't really notice that, but it does look very convincing. Great. I just wanted to find a way of actually keeping the look of the machine whilst having a much more robust, hopefully, power supply to power the thing. And arguably these power supplies are 4 amps, I believe, and this one is 3.34 amps. But having run this machine, and many HF950s using the bench power supply, it's usually about, well, it's under 2 amps. I don't think I've ever gone over 2.5 amps, and that's really caning it with tuner on, recording, and yeah, so I'm happy with that. I think the overhead's fine. Those power supplies, I'm still a bit dubious because they are quite highly populated boards, but I think they'll be reliable, and judging by what they're designed to be used for, which is like medical equipment where you need a high degree of reliability, I think it'll be perfect for this, and I think it will hopefully last for years if we get past this power on. So yeah, let's power it on. So far so good. Excellent. right at the beginning of the tape, so it's always a little bit like but that's really good. And yeah, super pleased with that. So I did put that adhesive at the bottom, but to be honest it's totally pointless really, because it is held in with these two screws here, and then obviously the board is there, slots into the guide there, and then screw there. I think it's only one screw on the bottom essentially that it's missing. I'm happy with that. That's plenty to keep it in there. One slight problem I have, you can see there, that's bowing slightly because of those 4 screws that are holding the power supply in. This makes it very, very tight, and it just causes a bit of a bow. I'm not terribly worried about that. It's not great, and I will find a better way to do it, maybe using sort of lower profile heads, screws with lower profile heads, but that's fine. I mean, it's a small price to pay, and it will stop them from ever coming adrift, I suppose is one way to look at it. But yeah, so I think what I will do is clean the Hall effect next, and then give it a run for a few hours, see how hot it gets, and then I think we're about good to go. I mean, I'll clean the tape path as well. I don't know what the upper drum's like. It's a little bit of a judder on the racing. Oh, it is quite worn. It is actually quite shiny. So I don't know whether, I suppose I'll ask Rob if he wants me to service that. Yeah, it's also quite dirty, so it certainly does need a tape path clean, but I think we'll do the Hall effect and then take it from there. Let's crack on. Yeah, so that definitely needs doing. So let's crack on. It's all cleaned up. There is still a bit of glue there, but to be fair, there's no glue actually between the legs of the Hall effect. There's some staining on the plastic and bits of mist, but actually between the legs it's fine, so that's great. So let's well, I think I'm going to put the bottom cover on actually and give it a test, run it for a few hours and see how we get on. So all good to go, and bottom cover's back on, everything's fantastic. So I suppose we ought to plug it in. Sorry, we're reaching over. So that, plug in video and audio in the back. One thing we haven't checked actually is the RF out. That's still not plugged in, so I'm going to plug that in and see what happens. I mean, I really suspect that that's probably not going to work. Do I have anything I can actually... Oh, I'll find a way. We'll find a way of testing that. I would like to know that the RF out is okay. So I'm going to play a cassette in it now. Leave it for the duration of the cassette and just see how we get on. So yeah, I'll let it crack on. It's not really surprising, but I don't have any RF out, which is a bit of a problem because I've only got one RF modulator free, and the pin's broken on this one. I remember changing it over actually with another one that I had that was working. I could change the socket, but what I'm thinking, I'm going to give this one a try first. This is BG rather than I, so yeah, the sound carrier will be wrong for the UK, but it's not a biggie really, because most modern TVs, to be honest, will cope with both standards, so it's not a biggie. But yeah, I'll put this in. Well, I'll just plug it in and try and tune it in, see what happens. It appears to be working. I did try the other one just because I wasn't having any luck tuning in the Vestal to the RF outs, and I didn't get on much better with that one. I've plugged it into the Panasonic, and after it warmed up a bit, I managed to get as far as that. See, it's rolling terribly, and I mean, this has just, the caps are just well and truly had it in this, to be honest. Now it's getting so bad. You've probably seen this in previous videos if you're a regular to the channel, yeah, I'm still not happy that we don't still have a problem with the RF out. I don't know. Am I going over the top even checking this? But yeah, I'd just like to know that the RF out does work, because like I say, it can be useful, certainly with certain flat screen TVs that can tune into analog TV still. Really cleans up the picture, looks really good, to be fair. So I'd like to think, you know, we can get this going, but yeah. So I have a plan. So yeah, I've employed the services of TTF1, and yeah, we've got herringbone on it. It was a bit of a red herring. It actually turned out to be issues with mobile RF. The frequencies used for analog TV in the UK have been reassigned to mobile communication, and that's what it was. It was actually really sort of causing a lot of problems with herringbone and just all over the place. It was really confusing me, because we know the video out is good, and there isn't much difference between the video here and the video out. So and different RF modulators, you know, it didn't make sense. So I've turned the RF right the way to the top of the range, which I think is about channel 40, and that's done the trick. It's just really good. So I'm really pleased with that. And yeah, I'm actually really surprised that the RF out works. So that's fantastic. So talked to Rob about doing the tape path, resurfacing the upper drum, and he's going to do it. He's going to do it when he gets this machine back. He's done a few of them following the video I did on how to do it, how to get the best results, and he's had a lot of success. So absolutely cool. Really pleased, to be honest. Saves me a job, and yeah, that's great. So I think that's about it. Temperature wise, that's almost cool. It's running so well. which is great. So that power supply is an absolute winner for getting these machines sort of up and running well. So with that, I guess that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one, something a bit different, and hopefully I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.
The new special edition Renault Clio Biarritz is the perfect partner in town and country. It not only boasts a wealth of glamorous touches, but also comes with both 1 year's free insurance and 0% finance. Yet it costs a positively charming $7,895 on the road.
Papa?
So ask your Renault dealer about the Clio Biarritz. It's twice the fun.